Good evening. I'd like to call to order the City Council meeting of Monday, February 4th, 2019. And we'll start with a prayer from Father Mike Wensing of Holy Name Church.
Let us pray. Psalm 106 proclaims, "Give thanks to the Lord, for the Lord is good, for his kindness endures forever. Who can tell the mighty deeds of the Lord, or proclaim his praises?" Oh yes, all creation praises you, O God. Even ice and snow, as we're reminded in the book of Daniel and Azariah's prayer, chapter 3, verse 70. O ye ice and snow, bless the Lord. Praise and exalt him above all forever. We tell of your mighty deeds, Lord God, who guide us in our deliberations of moving forward in our beautiful snow-covered city, to be caretakers of this city government and caretakers of the employees of the city and its many services. Grant us peace in our nation and in our city, honesty in our deliberations, hospitality and warmth in our welcoming, and right thinking in promoting the common good of this city and its citizens. We ask this in your name, Lord God, who are the way, the truth, and the life. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call, please.
Okay. Albertson?
Here.
Bueller?
Here.
Danforth?
Here.
Lallam?
Here.
Manti? Here. Roby?
Here.
Solom?
Here.
Thorson? Absent. Vilhauer?
Here.
Y? Absent. Thank you.
All right, before we get started, I would like to acknowledge our finance officer, Kristen Bobzine, and the finance department for receiving the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for the comprehensive annual financial report. And this is Kristen's first CAFR that she did completely on her own. So, yay, go finance, go Kristen. Good job. Not everybody gets that, so we're lucky.
And how many years in a row was that our office has gotten that? 30? Okay.
A lot. Yeah. Good practices, right? Okay, the first item on the agenda is approval of the consent agenda. And before we do that, I am going to pull item H off of the agenda completely. It's below the bid amount. We don't need to do that with council action. So and that's the only change. Is there a motion to approve the council or the consent agenda as amended? Moved by Lallam, second by Bueller. Any discussion?
Mayor, I'd like to let it be known I'm recusing myself relative to items 1J and 1K.
Okay, anyone else? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Item number 2 is public comment, and this is the time set aside for anyone who wishes to come forward, speak about something. Seeing none, we'll move on to approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Vilhauer, second by Lallam. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Item 4 is application for a temporary location transfer and return of a retail on-sale liquor license owned by Zeus, Inc., doing business as 2nd Street Station, as follows. A, for the period of 5 o'clock p.m., February 15, 2019, to 2 o'clock a.m., February 16, 2019, from 15 2nd Street Southwest to 1910 West Kemp. I'll look for a motion second for approval and then I'll open the public hearing. So we have a
So
motion by
moved.
Bueller, second by Albertson. Okay, this is for the Coddington County Pro Pheasants Annual Banquet, for the record. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak about this? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Council, do you have any questions or comments? Councilman Roby?
I'll be recusing myself from this item.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, I'll look for action. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. And Part B of this is for the period after 2:01 a.m., February 16th, from 1910 West Kemp to 15 2nd Street Southwest. So look for a motion second to approve that. Moved by Lallam. Second by Vilhauer. I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak about this? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Is there any discussion? Assume you're recusing yourself again, Councilman Roby, yes? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Mayor's State of the City report. So if you'll go ahead and bring that up, Ray. That's probably something we haven't seen for a while around here. For the record, this is not a real cigarette. It's just a rolled up piece of paper. But I would like to point out that when I started my career in public service 35 years ago, smoking in City Hall was legal. It's no longer legal. That's a change that we've made. So sometimes change is good, and we go ahead and make changes in our life to make progress. So hold that thought. Before I get started, I want to just say thank you to the public for giving me the opportunity to serve as mayor. I can honestly say I love this job, and it's just so exciting to see where this community is headed. And when I was running for mayor, I talked to as many people as I could about what they thought was good, what they thought was bad, where they wanted to see Watertown 20, 30 years down the road. Because I think we need a vision, and I think we need to be clear about that, and everybody should know what that vision is. And so I did put together a vision for our community. My words expressing the words of the community as they were spoken to me. So this is the vision. The city of Watertown is growing and vibrant, offering attractive, engaging quality of life and affordable housing, guided by an organization which efficiently meets the needs of the citizens and provides economic health supporting strategically selected amenities. And now that's a lot of words. And as you recall, I put 5 goals in my plan to get us there. If you think of the vision as the bright flashlight beam shining through the fog of uncertainty that we face every day in our lives running the city, that beam of light illuminates both the destination of where we want to be 30 years from now, as well as the path and how we get there. But that vision can't be done just by the mayor or just by any person. It takes a community behind it. And that's why this is not my vision, these are my words of the vision of our community. And our community has a council which is very active. We're fortunate to have such an active council who goes hand in hand in reaching the vision and figuring out which items we will do and not do to get us to where we want to go. So that's really important to know that we have such an involved council. We also have excellent city staff. And these folks that sit up here and come to these meetings every day, we can't do it without that. And literally hundreds of volunteers participate in various different boards and committees. I appoint 13 different boards: the airport board, the library board, the plan commission, board of adjustment. These are some pretty heavy responsibilities that volunteers take on to help us to achieve this vision. And it's very important. I think there's like 26 different boards that the council members serve on. I don't appoint all of them. But this is all part of helping us to achieve our vision. And we also have various outside organizations which participate too. So the Watertown Development Company, Municipal Utilities, which is part of the city, the Chamber of Commerce, CVB, the local school district, our healthcare systems, all of these folks participate in helping us to reach our vision. So before we can talk about how we get there, I think we need to talk about where we are today and how things are going for us right now. And that's the purpose of the State of the City address. Where are we right now? So we had a good year. 2018 was really a great year. And, oops, I missed this one here. So we started out with the groundbreaking of Terex, which was a huge, exciting event for us in 2018. Independence Day celebration, the second year in a row, we had national recognition for that choreographed fireworks display, choreographed to go with the music done by Loose Fireworks. And that was really great, a coming together of our whole community. Thousands of people enjoyed it. We converted Kemp to two-way, and so now all of our streets downtown are two-way, which is great for the downtown. We opened our outdoor shooting range, and that was just a one-of-a-kind partnership between the city and the Game Fish and Parks Department. There's nothing like it anywhere nearby. It's the first of its kind, so that's wonderful for our community. We achieved 10,000 employments again for the second year in a row, and that qualified us for $1 million to put toward our airport projects. Luckily, we got through that before we had our little hiccup in the road, but sometimes those hiccups lead to even better things, and I think that's the case here. We had expansion of our hospital and clinics, and of course LATI continued on their expansion, so it really was a great year. And also, how do we measure how we're doing? How do we know it was a great year other than just the things that happened? Well, we can see the sales tax revenues are up, and I scheduled this State of the City address. I thought we would have our final numbers by today, and we have a really good handle on what those numbers are. We are up 4.07% compared to last 2017. So 2018 was up over 2017, 4.07% compared to 2017 being 2.41% over 2016. So we had a couple good years in a row, and this is excellent. And that, I have to say though, that 4.07 isn't actually final yet. So I thought it was, but Kristen had to correct me on that. Lake Kempesca bike trail plan was completed last year, and this is some news hot off the press. We finished that plan and applied for a $400,000 grant to complete part of the trail. We were awarded that grant. So I don't even think there's been a news release out about that yet, but we did get the grant, so that's going to enable us to build the trail around Lake Kempesca even faster. Building permit growth was phenomenal last year, and I have a slide about that further on. We more than doubled the value of the work that was permitted in 2018 over what was permitted in 2017. So that's fantastic news. Yes, Terex was part of that, but Terex was not all of it. The optimism that generates with Terex making a huge investment in our community has led to others making investment in our community. And we're already showing, this just being the very beginning of 2019, looks like 2019 is going to be another really good year. So that's good. And we finished our affordable housing zoning district, which was something I really wanted to do. Wanted to do that for years and years. And now we have it. It's a tool in the toolbox. We have the ability to have affordable small lots in our town that we haven't had before. And this is so new, we haven't actually had any subdivisions go through since we approved it, but I do expect that we'll see some in the future. So I mentioned my 5 goals, and I should go back and show you this. I updated this chart from the one that we presented when Kristen and Don and I made the presentation on sales tax in our town. So these are the same, and then this red bar shows 2018. So you saw these numbers in the slide. The 5-year period, 2013 to 2017, average 1.91% growth. And just in 2017 to 18, we saw 4.07. So that's excellent. This is really good news for our town. And here's the graph of building permit activity. You can see 2017 was down, and that can be attributed to the tariffs and the uncertainty in our economy at the time, and then things sort of stabilized, and Terex committed to Watertown. And so some of that growth, I think about 2 of these bars is accounted for by Terex, and the rest of that growth is a lot of it's piggyback on Terex. So we had a lot of apartments being built. The number of apartment units that we permitted for construction in 2018 was way more than it was in 2017. So we're building more residential units. We're building more industrial units. There's hopefully we'll be seeing some commercial growth as well. So the general goals that I've had all along, that I vowed to stick with until we get to the end, quality of life management strategy. So essentially, our quality of life management strategy is to just do whatever it takes to draw people to Watertown and to keep them here. So one of those things is an ice arena. Our ice arena is hurting. We know we need a new one. Did you know that we are like the only town our size that does not have 2 sheets of ice? Virtually every other town we compete with for employees and people moving here and the skaters that use the facilities have 2 sheets of ice. Brookings, Aberdeen, Marshall, Sioux Falls, they have 2 sheets of ice. So that's something we really need to work on. Downtown is a focus point, and we're seeing some positive things there with the GOS being purchased and Watertown Development Company adding downtown into their program of work. And we've got lots of excitement about what's going on downtown. Lake Kempesca, we have a beautiful, huge lake right inside our city limits. Nobody else can say that. Brookings can't say that. Aberdeen can't say that. Sioux Falls. Nobody can say that but us. That's something that we can really be proud of, but we can also take advantage of that. And that's why we did the Lake Kempesca Master Plan. It's not quite done, but we're getting there. It'll give us a list compiled from our citizens of what we would like to see in the lake for the future. We've also seen some commercial and industrial development. We've got shovel-ready lots of every type in our community, and now we've got a new industrial park that we're working on, and we're having lots of inquiries in doing that, getting that going. And quality of life, it's other things too, just like making our Thursday night live year-round, going from, we could have just let that die. The Chamber of Commerce picked it up and kept it alive, and they added having it in the winter now. So we're doing one Thursday a month. It's been at the mall, so you can come inside And that's a really nice thing for our community. It helps them all. It gives the people something fun to do. It's an attraction. And by the way, Thursday night this week, there is a Thursday Night Live at our event center. And I hear it's a really great band. So need to go check that out. The affordable housing framework, as I mentioned, we have the new zone, which we established in 2018. And we also were designated with an opportunity zone. And that we are one of, I think there's 5 in the state of South Dakota. The governor was able to pick 5 communities and have an opportunity zone. And there will be a federal program of aid to help you improve that zone. And they haven't worked the details out. This was a President Trump initiative, but we're looking forward to it. I hear they're coming down and figuring out the details, so that'll be very helpful. Our downtown is within that opportunity zone. And also just really happy to say that Watertown Development Company has included affordable housing in their program of work. And it used to just be industrial development was all that they did, but they've expanded that out, and that's very helpful to us. The goal 3 is the city organization optimization plan. And the big thing on this is our review of our charter, because we may this year change our form of government. And I have a slide all to itself for that, so I will come back to that. But some of the other things that are in our city organization optimization plan are the review that I'm focusing on with a couple of the departments, namely the engineering department. We have new leadership, and we're also reworking our development regulations to make them more customer friendly and easier to maneuver. I've also been working on a communication strategy, which has gotten a lot of good feedback. We have these open public comment periods at every public meeting. That's a law, but we do encourage people to come forward and ask a question or make a comment. Also, I've been doing monthly coffees with the mayor and get quite a good turnout there. There's one on Friday at Cake Crazy if you're interested at 2 o'clock. And it's open. Anybody can come and talk about anything they want. And I never know what it's going to be, but it's a good way for citizens to give input. And I'm trying to find a time when I can do one outside of working hours, probably in early morning hours. Another thing that has to do with the city organization and optimization is enforcing our ordinances. And the ordinances are our rules. The council passes them, and the mayors take an oath to enforce them. And I take that very seriously. We can't find out if an ordinance is bad if we're not enforcing it. We shouldn't sweep it under the rug. If it's a bad ordinance, we should get rid of it. And so by enforcing ordinances which people don't like, people come out of the woodwork and tell us they don't like it. So we've made some changes to the sign code, changes to our zoning regulations, and judging by the amount of calls and emails and complaints I'm receiving on snow removal, we might be making some snow removal ordinance changes. So goal 4 is the economic health program. So basically looking at our budget, where are we? Are we tracking where we should be? Looking at sales tax revenues and how are they tracking, and building permits. So that's why I showed those things. So you can see we're on track. And the 5th goal is to report upon the state of the city of Watertown periodically. And I intend to do these state of the city addresses. This is the 3rd one I've done since I've been the mayor. And I think it's good for the public to see where we are and have input if they want, and just see where we're standing. Regular reporting is important, and we need to, I think, talk about the things that are challenging us, and that's the first step in solving our problems, is acknowledging them and bringing them forward. So I said I had this slide on the form of government. I found this in my search. I've been doing a lot of research on city manager versus strong mayor. Our Charter Revision Commission is looking at this, and we need to decide as a community what we want. And this committee may or may not make a recommendation to bring it to a public vote. And if they do, the whole community needs to become educated and find out about the pros and cons, because they'll be voting on it. And essentially, I thought this was a good summary. With a strong mayor form of government, which we have now, the leadership is more visible to the public. The mayor is the leader, and I'm directly accountable to the voters. If you're not happy with the way things are going, you will elect a different mayor at the next election. And every mayor has the opportunity in a strong mayor form of government to change out the department heads. And they often do. And we see a lot of turnover that way. But the mayor can make changes very quickly. I have the ability to bring anything up that I want for looking at it as a potential new rule or changing the way we do business. So those are good things. The bad things, having a new mayor come in and change out all the department heads creates instability within the organization. You lose institutional knowledge, and the politics are more likely to trump other factors in decision making. So those are the cons. If we went with a city manager, the reason that most cities would do that is for increased stability, because the city manager takes a lot of the authority away from the mayor, and it's just done as administration. After all, the mayor takes a vow to enforce all the ordinances. The city manager would do the same, and the city manager does not have the leeway to bend the rules. So the council has a little bit of a different role in that too. Their roles change along with the city manager. So theoretically, the city manager form of government, there's less political influence on decisions because the decisions are made administratively, not so much in the public eye. The cons for that, since you're not seeing the person who's making things happen, it's hard for citizens maybe to figure out who to talk to. Everybody knows they got a problem, they come to the mayor, but if you're not seeing the city manager hold the meetings, you don't know, that face isn't familiar necessarily. City managers are generally appointed by the city council. And it's a little bit harder to hold the elected officials accountable when the business is all going on administratively in City Hall in the offices and not in these public meetings. So in the country, most small towns have a strong mayor form of government, and most large cities have a strong mayor form of government. And this is because in small towns, they simply don't have the resources to hire experts. And the big towns have huge staff. So cities our size all across the nation are trending toward having a city manager form of government. The next meeting of the Charter Review Commission is February 12th. Those meetings are all open to the public. So we do have challenges, and I want to talk about those a little bit. By far, the biggest challenge that we face in Watertown is attracting workforce. We have business after business with help wanted signs out. We simply can't get the bodies to come here. So it's not as simple as just raising up your wages to get the workers to come here. It's extremely important to provide the quality of life that people want so that they will come here. If they're considering moving to Watertown to take a job, these candidates will drive downtown and see what your downtown looks like. And if you as a community are not willing to invest in your downtown and making it into both an attractive and a desirable place for people to spend time and money, then that's a bad sign. So you need to pay very close attention to quality of life. You need to facilitate affordable housing. We need to educate our youth into what the opportunities are in our town. And we have been doing that, and we're taking more of a role in that. And the development company has also been helping with that. And we also need to train youth. We have a huge advantage having LATI in Watertown, but we also have Mount Marty College, and we've got lots of relationships with the other universities. So we're well set to do that. And transportation is always a challenge. The airline service issue that we're facing is a big bummer, but I think we're on our way to fixing that. But road maintenance with potholes and snow removal, those things never go away. Doesn't matter where you're from. You're always going to have those problems. And, you know, it's a matter of money. Where's the money going to go? I think we can face those challenges, but we also have opportunities. And I put this little picture of a device here, which most people in the room know what this is, but I'm guessing there might be some people that have never touched one of these things that has a dial on it. You know, these were great for a while, but now they're obsolete. We don't use them anymore. Just like we don't smoke in City Hall anymore. That was the way we used to do things. We changed the way we do things. We don't use these anymore. We got to constantly look at the way we're doing things. So we're looking at our charter. And this is an opportunity this year to change if we should decide as a community that we want to. We're looking at Lake Kempesca. What do we want to do there to make that everything that we want it to be? And what do we want our downtown to look like? Is it okay if half the storefronts are empty? Or do we want to make an extra effort and investment in making that a better place? And commercial growth, we're aggressively addressing our concerns. People need places to shop, and that's a big concern that we have in Watertown right now. We're going after it. So in a changing world, we must constantly improve. You can't just do things the way that you've always done unless it's okay to fall behind. And I don't think anybody wants to fall behind. So, in summary, we do have a strong financial position, and we will be making some very critical decisions about our community's future this year. Airline, city manager, ice arena, downtown development, these are all big issues for our community right now, this year. We're going to be making decisions which will affect our future on these things. 2019 will be the year that determines our future. And one final thought about that. I think that most people, not everybody, but a lot of people use social media. And if you're one of those people that uses it, you're going to know what I mean when I say the following thing. It seems like there are some people whose sole mission on social media is to destroy optimism. That's bad. You know what? You can't ignore it. You have to respect it. But don't let it drag you down. Don't let it destroy your optimism. Our future isn't set by those folks. Our future is set by those of us who want to share a vision and come together to build and create opportunity for our town. So I'm urging you to join together with me as we pursue our vision. So that's all I have for now. So thank you. The next item on the agenda is resolution number 19-07, resolution of acceptance for the development improvements for the water quality capture volume pond in the Eastwoods 18th edition. And this received the recommendation of the committee in the prior meeting. So I'll look for a motion second for approval. Moved by Bueller, second by Lallam. And I'll let Heath give a little summary of this.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm not sure how I drew that straw, but that's a tough act to follow. But I'll give you a quick summary here on this particular item regarding the acceptance of a detention structure, water quality capture volume structure that is in the Eastwoods 18th edition. It was in the development agreement for this phase of that development that the city take over for ownership and maintenance purposes this particular property and the improvements on it, which include what looks a lot like a detention pond, and for some practical purposes functions as a minor storm event detention pond and mainly a water quality pond is its primary function. But the engineering staff has confirmed that it was built to design and is ready for acceptance and bringing it forward to the council for that action.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions or comments about this? Councilman Lallam?
Just need to make note that that should be Peggy Haugen and Joey Nelson. I know that when that final comes out that we have that correctly.
Yes, thank you for noting that correction. I believe the resolution is drafted correctly, but the request for council action was inaccurate on that name there, so we apologize for that.
All right, thank you. So, anything else? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Item 7 is consideration of the Airport Department 2019 budget adjustment request for position change. I'll look for a motion and second for approval. Moved by Danforth. Second by Roby. And Kristen will tell us about this one.
Thank you, Mayor. During the hearings for the 2019 budget, we did authorize the hiring of another position for the airport. But in doing that, there was a little bit of confusion between what the dollars that were put in and then I think what Todd's actual request was for. So during the budget process, during the hearings, a grade 4 maintenance position was put into the budget. And then Todd, I believe, and Todd can step in at any point if I don't say what I'm supposed to. But he was looking for more of a foreman, kind of an in-between the maintenance staff and himself. So that was not placed in the budget according to dollars. The position was there, but not the dollars. So what I did is he worked with HR to establish that job description, and since that time, the job description has been graded, and it graded in at a grade 6 position. So basically what I kind of need council's approval is, because this will affect the budget, is that authorization for us to proceed with hiring of a grade 6. It's going to be a foreman position. So the total dollar amount effect, the difference between what was budgeted and what we need at this point is $19,800, and that takes into account the difference in the wage, all of the taxes, work comp, all that type of stuff, retirement. So the total difference would be $19,800. So what I need is the approval to go ahead and hire that, and this will come back. I think if you remember, we had a couple other changes that have taken place, so I will be bringing forward a supplement here, probably in the next couple meetings, but this will let us go ahead and hire that grade 6 position.
All right, are there any questions or comments? Councilman Lallam?
What was the original dollar amount that we had budgeted?
Oh, hang on, let me look. Just for that position or
Yes.
in total?
For that position.
That position would have been budgeted at around about 52,500. That's with everything. That's salary, taxes, health. The new one comes in at about close to 69,000. There again, with taxes, retirement, health insurance, all that.
Okay. Todd, can you give a brief overview of what you're looking as their job for the most part?
This would be an interim between myself and my staff. And we did talk about this during the budget hearing. Unfortunately, we just didn't have the grading done yet, as you may recall. So this was just a budgetary number to hold it because we did not know where it was going to come in after the grading process. As Kristen said, there was a little bit of confusion as to how the process was to work with, as far as myself even as well, how this whole worked with a new position. So after looking at it, Kristen was very nice, helped us out getting that down. This will be an interim position a position between myself and my staff. Essentially, he'll take care of, or she'll take care of, the day-to-day operations. it'll leave me free to do leases and federal regulation stuff, state regulation stuff, and not have to worry so much about the daily regulation stuff at the airport, the snow removal, the lawn mowing, that stuff. Also, if I take vacation, right now I have nobody that can move into my spot. So I have to be ready and willing to use my phone or whatever. I can take my laptop with me on vacation because I don't have somebody who can step into my role here.
And they'd be able to step into that while you're gone? On a
Correct.
temporary type basis?
Yes.
Is there a background deal, or is there other FAA guidelines that they have to go through to be able to do that?
Yes. They will have to get certified in a few different areas, but we already have that in the job description. Everything is graded out at the grade 6 foreman position.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions? See none, I'll look for action. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Item 8 is consideration of proposals received for employee assistance program. I will look for a motion to approve the recommendation, and then we'll have Kristen tell us about that. Moved by Vilhauer, second by Bueller. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, during the budget hearings, I don't know if it was too much talked about, but this was placed into the budget for 2019. So what we're going to discuss is a budget. We went out for requests for proposals for this service, and we received, I think, 4 of them back. And I think I'll let Audra kind of take over from here because she worked with the committee members to come up with their recommendation. So, thank you.
Good evening. So, as Kristen was saying, we did have 4 responses from 4 different vendors, and a committee of which I was a member, and we did look at all of the different proposals and found 2 of which met all of our standards and our requirements as put forth in the RFP. And the 2 that we selected were Avera and Connections. And we are recommending Connections as the provider. We did have 3 local South Dakota municipalities that also were references, so we did get favorable reports from all 3 of those cities that use Connections. And so they did kind of step forward in regards to the services they provided in leadership services for us, for our supervisors and myself, to support like employee relations type issues. They're also very local, so they can come on site and do orientations for us with our supervisors and our employees and assist more closely than a couple of the others that had submitted, which were like South Carolina and Des Moines, Iowa. So,
All right. Does anybody have any questions? Councilman Roby?
Just looking at the grid and the information that's passed out to us, your decision, it looks like, was based on actual costs incurred versus a flat fee used as needed. Can you put some just thought on why you decided to go that route versus the other?
So it was a little hard to compare apples to apples because we found that not all of the 4 met all of our our requirements in the RFP put forward, and so some of them had additional costs for doing so, and some didn't even offer it. So it was really hard to come up with a per cost per employee on some of these things. But the Connections one just surpassed. Met all of our requirements and had that extra leadership support that we were looking for, and the others did not have that. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, Councilmember Roby.
Follow up, Mayor. No, I trust you guys did this the right way. I would just ask, though, keep the data and do a look back for a lot of times what we don't do is we look back and see, we base our decision on these factors, but did that really play out? You may find out you got the best deal ever, or you may find out the otherwise. I just would ask that you track that.
Okay.
Councilman Danforth?
Could you share with the public and with us exactly what an EAP is and how it's used within the city?
Absolutely. The EAP, it stands for Employee Assistance Program, and they've been around for quite a few years. It evolved from being basically a substance abuse a mental health service related service for employees where, for example, if an employee was experiencing issues at work that were impacting their performance at work, perhaps, whether it be relationship problems or problems with a child or something like that, they could go in for 3 free services or 5 free services, depending on, to address those issues, so that hopefully they could be addressed and, prevent problems from occurring with their performance at work. And it kind of has evolved over the years to develop more into providing a broader range of services, like addressing substance abuse, credit counseling, legal services, referral services. So it's really broadened because life, I guess my take on it is life has become more complicated, so it's just kind of expanded to include more support. And the employer services component of it has also developed as far as offering more support to the employer.
CISD.
And the CISD, thank you, Don. Don was on the committee with me as well, and they're a huge help for public service or public safety because of the critical incident stress management piece that they offer. So anytime there's a critical incident that happens where first responders have to report to something that has a pretty significant impact on the employee, some type of real traumatic event, they come in and they do a debriefing session with those employees who are impacted, and also might have some services that carry over with those employees to help them adjust and, address some of the issues that might have impacted them.
So is this for employees only then, or is it for their family members as well?
That's an excellent question. It's for employees and their dependents, so that can also mean if you have students that are in college, as long as they're dependents of yours and they're in a different town, it's a nationwide service, so they come up with services that are available to them close to where they're, located.
And my last question, I think anyway, is the amount that you have, is this something that was budgeted for 2019?
Yes,
so it's
thank
in the
you.
Budget?
It's in the budget. We did go $200 over our budget. However, we are starting March 1st, so you'll see a little bit of cost reduction because we're implementing March 1st instead of January 1st, and then we'll take that into consideration next year.
We'll meet budget.
We'll meet budget next year.
All right, any other questions? Sounds like a good deal for the employees.
I think it will be awesome.
Yeah, thanks for all your work. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Kristen?
Sorry, just wanted to point out one thing. So with this motion to proceed with connections, at the next council meeting, you will see the actual agreement for services come before you, and then you'll have a chance to kind of see it all laid out in there.
Might be worth noting too, I think I made the motion, didn't I?
Yes.
At that point, connections had not been recommended, so I guess I'll clarify that my motion was for connections.
Okay.
Thank you. Item number 9 is status of the Big Sioux River Watershed Project grant funds. And you will hear more about this in the future. I asked Roger to come and talk about this a little bit. The Upper Big Sioux River Watershed Project is funded by a number of organizations, the City of Watertown being one. We're also we're the host for the Upper Big Sioux Watershed Project, and they receive funds from the Lake Pelican Water Project District, the Lake Compesca Water Project District, from municipal utilities, and from the DENR. And the funding for DENR comes actually from EPA, the 319 program, and it's administered by the DENR. And they cut back quite considerably on the amount of money that they're willing to add to our pot for this project. And I don't want to get anybody too excited yet, because I've had several meetings with the different folks involved with the DENR, the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, and the chairman of the task force board for the 319 program, and they're encouraging me that we might be able to restore some of the funding. I don't know how much or when, but just wanted to invite Roger if you had any questions about that. And it was announced what the funding was, and if anybody saw that, that's why I'm doing this. We're working on this. We think we can make it better. So did you want to say something, or just want to answer questions?
I wanted to come here tonight to let you guys know what was going on with the project. When the support that you've given the project over the years has just been phenomenal. But now that we've hit a glitch in the funding cycle, I thought it was only appropriate that we let you know what was going on up front before you hear about it from any other location. We did take a major dinger. We asked for $420,000 and they reduced that to 50, but the mayor is negotiating a change to that. Hopefully we'll have some good news soon. And with that, I would answer any questions that you may have.
Councilman Villar?
Roger, when does the cycle kick in that we would see that reduced funding? I mean, because we're still finishing out the previous cycle, aren't we? Or
yes. This grant application was an amendment to the current project. The current project ends at the end of July of this year. So we were asking to extend that for another 3 years with additional funds to do more work.
This project is unique and well respected. It's been the model for other projects like it. We've been working together for decades with farmers and livestock producers and the game fish and parks, DENR, all different agencies in the city, the lake districts. And we've made a lot of progress. We've done a lot of really great things. And I can just say it's definitely noticeable, the improvements that we've seen in Lake Kempesca and in the Big Sioux River. And we're very fortunate that we've been doing this project for 20 years. And we need to continue. There's no question that we need to continue this project. And I think the DENR recognizes that. We have, more than any other area, come out as a community to support this project. A lot of other projects really struggle to get matching funds because they don't have the backing from their water districts and from their communities like we do. So you don't want to cut off at the knees a healthy program which has a lot of buy-in from the locals. So that's why the DENR has told me it's not a done deal yet. So hopefully we'll see some improvement. Councilman Villar?
Without getting too much down the weeds, I guess no pun intended, but can you just explain what this loss of funding, I mean, what would that mean over the course of a typical year as far as what we could do with it or what we have done with it in the past versus what you'll be allowed or what you can still do going forward without it? Just some examples of what you can't, what you wouldn't be able to do.
It reduces the number of projects that we can do on the ground. Reduces the number of feet of shoreline that we can help cost share repairs to. I can't give you any specific numbers at the moment, but it does make a major impact to what we can provide as services and cost share to area farmers, ranchers, landowners to improve the water quality.
Councilman Bueller?
Hi, Roger. Question for you. What was the grant, what type of a grant, dollar volume, I guess, did we get in the prior grant from the federal government?
How far back in history would you like to go? We have
not too far.
Not too far. The project itself has used over $10 million in the past 20 years for water quality improvements in the area. The grant that we're working with right now, we asked for $520,000. They reduced that to $200,000. We're working with that, and then, like I said, they reduced that even further on this go around. We have used a lot of money, but then these kind of improvements are not cheap either.
And I think, if we want to see work done in the watershed, it's somebody else's property, and they don't necessarily have incentive to do things differently than they would normally just do. Like, for instance, create a buffer between where the crops are planted and the stream. Having that buffer there keeps the dirt from washing right into the river and down into our lake. There's no incentive really for the farmer to put a buffer there. They want to farm right up to the river if they can. So these programs are dollars that those who benefit put into a pot that helps offset the cost of doing these practices. And we have had some really good participation from the landowners in the past. Councilman Lallam?
Roger, did they give you any kind of indication as to why they were reducing the amount, or is it just, no, we're not doing that type of deal, or?
Staff recommendation from the DNR staff was funds provided should be used for installation of best management practices, focusing on non-supporting segments of the Big Sioux River that are listed as impaired by E. coli bacteria. BMP should include grass waterways and riparian area management. CRP incentives will not be funded using 319 funds. Reduction is based on limited available funding, current project funds, and local funding sources for staff salary. That's the explanation that they gave us.
So, well, I've been playing with the budget, and I'm hopeful. So let's just leave it at that. Unless you have anything else you want to say about that, we'll probably have an update. All right, moving on. Thanks, Roger.
Thank you.
Item number 10 is consideration of bids for essential airline service. And the committee recommendation was to ratify the airport board's recommendation. Was that a shock?
Yeah.
That's not good. To go with SkyWest Airlines, contingent upon Pier doing the same. And the council's recommendation will be to the DOT, who makes a contract with the airline. So I'll look for a motion second for approval of that.
So moved.
By Bueller, second by Danforth. And Todd, you want to just give a little recap briefly?
Well, yeah, sure. So SkyWest is who the airport board and myself recommended to the council for recommendation to the DOT. They are almost $200,000 a year less than what we're actually spending currently right now with California Pacific. So we're actually saving a little money. But the benefit of having SkyWest in Watertown is absolutely huge. We've been going after SkyWest for probably 6 years now, maybe even longer. And it's an unfortunate chain of events, as the mayor stated earlier, on how we got here. But to solve one of the problems for 2019, SkyWest could do that for us with all they bring to the table. So I would highly recommend recommending SkyWest to the federal DOT.
And just for an update, the committee for Pier recommended SkyWest to their commission, which will act on it tomorrow.
Yep.
So, any comments or questions? Councilman Lallam?
Todd, can you just explain, I know some of the people were asking about going to Minneapolis and things of that nature, how that fell into it, as well as the airplane sizes and things that we're potentially running into if we go with a smaller airplane, and just for the general public is understanding of that.
Sure. So we had 4 bids total. We had 2 to Denver and 2 to Minneapolis. The 2 bids that went to Minneapolis did not have interline or code share agreements. Boutique had code share agreement with United, but was flying into a Delta hub. They both fly the 8 or 9 seat aircraft. And therefore, in the essential air service regulations, if a community accepts an 8 or a 9 seat operation and has continuously 90 days service with that, you will be limited in essential air service to an 8 or a 9 seat operation. They will not have to give you anything more than that. It's unfortunate that SkyWest didn't give us a bid as an alternate to Minneapolis. Due to the traffic history we've had in Minneapolis with Delta. But this is the route they took, and these are the cars that we have to play with.
Yeah, and I know one of the things that we looked at was trying to build our size, not go down to a 9 plane, as our only operation. Can you briefly touch on the potential of maybe heading east at some point?
Yeah, sure. So this is United Express with SkyWest flying the routes. So obviously Chicago is where United's headquartered, and it's a huge hub. They have all kinds of nonstop direct flights out of Chicago, and SkyWest knows our history. These airlines don't just come in blind. They're looking at the past 20 years' numbers or more, and so they know that we have traffic wanting to go east. Right now, what they're doing is they're establishing a route that they know they can make work, and they could move into something in the future, definitely going east with the setup they're making for the groundwork with United Airlines.
But that was something that they would take on, not we would take on.
Correct. They would add a flight to Chicago if the demand was there.
Okay, thank you.
They could add a flight anywhere they wanted
They could,
add a
correct.
flight. And if it pans out for them financially, then that'd be great.
Yeah.
Councilman Danforth?
It's really more of a comment than the process, Todd, like you said, is we received the bids, and that's what we have to work with. And I know there's a strong desire to get to Minneapolis, but at this point in time for our community, we need to move in a direction which gives us the highest probability of success, both short and long term. And that is with SkyWest. You look at the other proposals in the company, some of them are fairly new, they're smaller planes, the issues of the interconnectivity and booking, lots of issues. There's a lot of issues that people don't like. This looks like a really, really good fit for us. I'm excited that they're here. And we need this for our community, and we need the stability that this company will bring. So I hope that's what we move forward with.
Right. Councilman Lallam?
Just one more comment, Todd. Can you briefly touch on the amount of planes? I know that was one of our issues with California Pacific, was the amount of planes that they actually had with this facility or with SkyWest. The amount of what their size of planes are, not just the actual physical size, but how many planes are in their fleet.
Sure. So it says right here, SkyWest operates 200 CRJ 200 aircraft and plans to keep this modern quiet jet aircraft in our fleet for many years to come. So right there, they have depth. They fly a ton of routes out of Denver, and they're not going to have the onesie twosie aircraft breaking, and we don't have an aircraft to fly to Watertown today. Sorry, we'll pick it up when we get it fixed. They have aircraft in their fleet that are constantly rotating through maintenance to get people in and out of the sites they bid.
Councilman Bueller?
Todd, you may want to mention too, just kind of give the public an idea of what the fare expectations would be and moving forward with this. And before you do that, though, I just want to commend you on all the good work you've done with this, working with the airlines back and forth. At the same time, you're dealing with all the issues with the outgoing guys, and how well you've worked in concert with, I think, the city council and the airport board. So thanks for all the good work.
I appreciate it. Their fare structure is, like I said, we said earlier, the average fare from here to Denver is that $95 one way. It's obviously without taxes. That would just be their average fare, so then it'd be taxes included in that. So not far off of what California Pacific had. We were at $99. SkyWest did mention, they didn't put it in their proposal, but they did mention that the $75 fares once in a while went over very well in Watertown. They could definitely see an influx of passengers in their slower times. The Januaries, the Augusts, stuff like that. When it's down season for not flying, they threw the CP Air threw the $75 fare in, and it sparked interest again. And SkyWest will do that as well. They saw how that influxed their numbers, and they're more than willing to do that for us.
All right, thank you. Councilman Villar?
I just want to piggyback on what you said, because I think I'd also like to recognize Mayor Karen as well as Piers Mayor for really being proactive and getting out ahead of this as best possible. when things started to go bad here a few months ago, and all those involved really deserve our thanks as a community for what was done.
Thanks, Glenn. Anyone else?
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Yeah, Beth.
Come.
I'd like to ask Todd to mention, I do get a lot of, I think the Chicago option is going to help a lot of people, but I think it would be really important for people to understand the difference and the advantage to our community of the Denver flights versus what we were seeing historically with the Minneapolis flights. I was actually fairly surprised by those, but it makes sense in terms of our employments and continuing to meet our requirements for our EAS. If Todd wants to touch briefly on that when we were working with Delta and Minneapolis.
Just like you said before about what happened when we have choices, people can fly out of Watertown, Sioux Falls, and Aberdeen with the same airline.
Yeah. So being so close in proximity with Aberdeen and Sioux Falls, it's unfortunate that that it kind of puts us in the spot we're in to go to Minneapolis. Delta controls the market. It's not unknown in Minneapolis that Delta controls the market of Minneapolis. They can influx or deflux their tickets, prices, however they want to push numbers to fill aircraft coming into Minneapolis. That being said, they could raise the prices in Watertown and Aberdeen if they wanted to shove people to Sioux Falls. And I was talking earlier before the meeting about an Omaha adventure that Delta raised the prices in Sioux Falls, Watertown, and Aberdeen to push people down to Omaha in 2010-11. And I'd forgotten all about that, but I do remember as they stated that it's a very vulnerable market when you're all going, within 250 miles, you're all going one way. And this gives us a lot of stability flying to Denver when the other markets are going east.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilman Bueller?
Quick comment. Just make mention too, it's 12 flights a week. 2 during the weekdays and 1 on Saturday, I believe 1 on Sunday. Is that correct?
They right now currently we don't have any flights.
Wednesday and
when CPR was flying, they had a 1 round trip on Wednesday and 1 round trip on Saturday.
And every other day had 2.
And these flights will all originate out of Watertown, correct?
That is correct.
All right, thank you.
Last call. Anyone else? All right, I'll look for action. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Thanks, Todd.
Thank you.
Item number 11 is old business. Is there any old business? Is there any new business? Councilman Vilhauer.
Mayor, I see we have representatives of both the police department as well as fire and rescue. I know their annual reports have just come out or are very close to coming out. I guess I'd encourage us to invite them at some point in your future to give a report to us, and maybe that's in your plans already.
I bet they'd be happy to, and I'd be happy to welcome them. Yeah, thanks. Is there any other new business? All right. Any liaison member reports? Councilman Vilhauer.
I just Roger Foote gave the update as far as Upper Big Sioux, but also I sit on the Municipal Utility Board, and as you know, Senate Bill 66 is a big issue for utility department as well as the entire community and the state, and that's I'm not sure where it is in Pierre. I think it's been tabled or on hold for right now, but anyway, that's still a huge issue relative to territories, et cetera, in that bill. So that was a big topic of discussion at the last utility board meeting.
Yes, stay tuned on that one. Anyone else? All right, we have no reason to go into executive session, so I'll look for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Lallam, second by Solom. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. We're adjourned.